This video is brought to you in collaboration with wowhead.com. Hello everyone! While we've done our best to keep the sigils of the Eternal Ones out of the hands of the jailer, despite our best efforts, he now possesses 4 of the 5 keys he requires. Required for what, you might ask, which is a really good question. They've hinted at it being connected to the first ones and some sort of forbidden knowledge. Going after that is what landed the jailer in the maw to begin with, and now he is trying again. The Arbiter is the final key, so while the jailer, his forces, and the influence of the maw creeps up on Oribos, we join Bolvar and our forces into his very lair, the Sanctum of Domination.
Ebonblade, hold this position.
The jailer's sanctum looms above us. How do we breach it?
The Tarragrue blocks our way. Champions, it is time for the jailer's pet to meet its end.
The start of the raid is just like doing a Torghast run. We need to dodge traps, clear the trash, and score ourselves some sweet anima upgrades, which we can take into the next fight. Some are just upgrades for yourself. Some are upgrades for others. Some are pretty vital, like having someone with the ever-beating heart powered up, which makes you immune to stuns. Alternatively, you could also pick the fun upgrades, the ones that empower you and knock everybody else away. Your choice, really. Now, our first trial is to overcome the Tarragrue, or perhaps our chance to get some sweet revenge, as this is the beast that came after us after we died too many times within the Tower of Torghast. It has stalked the halls of Torghast since its first spire was raised, and countless victims have felt their souls trampled to ash by this monstrosity. Back then, it was quite undefeatable, but now we stand united. When the Tarragrue gathers 100 energy, they'll dissolve into the mist of Torghast, forming several different images, and you'll need to find your safe spots. However, true heroes that do not shy away from the darkness, you might want to take a moment to reunite Moraz with buttons.
Buttons! Moraz!
Then, at 10% health remaining, the jailer is done playing around, removing all of our buffs and empowering the Tarragrue. It's do or die time. Take out the beastie before it takes us.
Secure the area. Fortify our perimeter. Lady Proudmoore, we could use your expertise.
Of course, High Lord. The Tarragrue's essence is still tethered to its master. We can use that connection to open the way into the fortress above.
The jailer will unleash all his fury upon us. We must not falter.
Prepare yourselves. The Sanctum of Domination awaits. We will draw their main forces to us. Champions, find a way to thwart the jailer's plan.
Sounds like a plan, Bolvar. Now from the Shadow Steel Foundry, we move on to the Eye's Overlook, where a familiar gaze falls upon us. We brought Odin's Wrath to the Eye of the Jailer, as the Keeper, who has traded it in to view the Shadowlands, learn how to make his Valkyr. He was not too keen on seeing his eye being used like this. It has allowed the Jailer to see all that transpires within his domain, which is why we couldn't stay in the maw for very long. Eventually, the Jailer had enough of us, and he made sure we had to leave. And perhaps the eye also allowed him to gaze into other domains as well. If that's true, then who knows what kind of events the jailer directly witnessed or manipulated from afar. Best to shut down his vision, but easier said than done, as the jailer's eye has an annihilating glare. A massive beam of death that moves across the platform. Someone was kind enough to put 2 grapple points behind the eye, which for some reason they're there. It gives us the chance to avoid the attack. Then at 75, 50 and 25% health, the Eye gives us a moment to play with his Deathseeker ads. Clearing them out for the 3rd time, it puts the boss into angry mode, ready to immediately exterminate us. Once again, it's kill or be killed. Nuke it down before it can wipe out all mortal life around it.
Eyes opened and never be closed.
Someone in the raid asked if we were going to return the eye to Odin, but I'm happy to report that it's actually been turned into a pet. I'm sure that our Odin, he will love that. We then crossed the bridge of Gorgoa, River of Souls, into the Chancel of the Dark Pact. When Sylvanas threw herself from the top of Icecrown and ended up in the maw, a bargain was struck to get her back to the world of the living. This heralds back to the short story Edge of Night, which we have covered in a machinima. With the defeat of Arthas, Sylvanas' motivation had to change. Up to that point, it had all been about claiming revenge, and with the job done, they decided that her motivation, it would be to stay out of hell with the aid of the Valkyr. In return, the Valkyr would be free from Bolvar's control. And now they've attached the Jailer to it, as the dark pact that Sylvanas struck with the 9 Valkyr, it forged their bond with the Jailer. Through the years, these winged sisters faithfully served the Dark Lady, even if it meant sacrificing themselves on her behalf.
Fools! You fight a battle you cannot win!
We will stop you, Sylvanas!
For Dragon. A fallen king without a throne. You will answer for your defiance. Valkyr! You are bound to me! Strike down my foes!
As you command, Dark Lady.
Anaheld took her place first, which left her with 8. Agatha, Deshla, and Arfura, they upheld the bargain after Sylvanas was shot by Godfrey, which meant 5 left. In the battle for Anderhal, she lost Aratna, 4 remaining, and then in Darkshore, we saw Tyrande who took out Brynja, which left Sylvanas with 3, Kira, Signe, and Skidja. So, how can there be 9 here? Well, we have seen Helya use some of Odin's Valkyr to bring back the Fallen of the 9, yet they don't directly face us in combat. That honor goes to Kira and Signe first, and once one of them falls below 15% health, Skidja decides that it's time to fly down and help them out. Meanwhile, each of the warrior maidens in life, they unleash devastating attacks upon the battlefield. Yet I do wonder if there's going to be more behind the bargain that they struck with Sylvanas. Even when the story was released, people wondered if the Valkyr were up to something. Were they aiming for something greater than just being released from the frozen throne? Why exactly is it that Sylvanas ended up in the maw? Was she judged worthy of it, or did the Jailer have some hand in it? If the Dark Pact with the Valkyr is what forced her bond with the Jailer, then was she always aware of this allegiance? And if not, when did she decide to be okay with it? There are many questions still left to be answered.
We will reshape it all.
Up the elevator bus we go, once more across the River of Souls, and in the distance you can already hear where we're going next. Once upon a time, the souls that were sent to Revendreth, they were given an honest chance at redemption. Sure enough, their methods are not always kind or gentle, but they are fair. At least that's how it used to be, before Sire Denethrius allied with the Jailer. This was beautifully explained in the Afterlife short, with the example of none other than Garrosh Hellscream. When we finally got the party through Revendreth, people expected him to show up in some way, or at least be screaming in the distance, but no, he was nowhere to be found, and it's here at Soulrender Dormazain where we find out why.
Your rage is exquisite, Hellscream. It alone could power our soul forges for eons.
Release me, worm, and I will show you true rage.
Soulrender Dormazain extracts anima from the brutish captives of Torghast to fuel the Jailer's armies. He has never met a soul that he couldn't break, but his latest victim is proving resistant to the usual methods. Feeding on this captive's unending rage, Dormazain will enjoy spending millennia finding his weaknesses. So, after being milked in Revendreth, they pass him on to the Maw. Some might find this a bit harsh for the former war chief, while others will think that he's getting exactly what he deserves. They might want to throw a little taunt his way, but do be warned, as that will activate his achievement, Tormentor's Tango. The proud orc, he can't take this mockery, and you'll have to avoid all of the torment impacts. That is the theme of the fight anyways. You need to avoid any and all torment that Dormazain inflicts, while making sure that his ads don't reach Garrosh. Hellscream will also be bound by ghastly shackles that inflict so much pain that he can't hold it in. True to his name, he unleashes his mighty scream, which hurts quite a bit.
They said I must answer for my crimes. Repent for my sins. But every choice I made, I would proudly make again.
You will submit.
I submit to no one! Not you! Not the jailer! And not that coward thrall! For the Horde!
Unyielding, unrelenting, and unapologetic till the very end. What a beautiful way to go. From one familiar orc, we move on to another at the penance of the fallen king. We run into none other than Ner'zhul.
Roh-Kalo, is that you? It has been so long. Cannot see you. My eyes devoured. I opened many doors, all led to agony. He said I failed him, a flawed herald, usurped by another. My fate is torment, but I will not bear this crown alone.
Rokan is the name of Ner'zhul's mate, the image that was used by Kil'jaeden to deceive him. The many doors, the many gateways that he opened up, that was back on Draenor, when he decided to abandon his people, find better days on the different planets. But instead, he ended up right in the hands of Kil'jaeden. This is where it all began, the story of the Lich King, or at least this is where it used to begin. The orc shaman that betrayed Kil'jaeden and abandoned his people, he found himself exactly where he didn't want to be. In the clutches of the Burning Legion. His failure towards the Deceiver, it landed him in a world of pain and unimaginable torture at the Legion's hands. The orc's physical body, it was torn apart bit by bit, but his spirit was kept alive, intact and utterly aware of what was happening. A group of dreadlords, Tychondrius, Belnazar, Deferok, Melganis and Varimafras. They took turns subjecting Ner'zhul to the most horrific agony. The orc soon enough begged for death, and Kil'jaeden agreed to grant it to him, but only in return for absolute servitude as the Legion's new weapon. Death would just be the beginning, and Ner'zhul, with his sanity cracking, finally agreed. Kil'jaeden passed the orc spirit through death and revived him as a spectral entity. The orc's consciousness expanded 1,000-fold, granting him extraordinary psychic powers. The dreadlords then bound his disembodied spirits to a specially crafted set of armor and a mighty runeblade called Frostmourne. But our Ner'zhul, he was still able to plot against Kil'jaeden and the dreadlords.
My suffering will be yours.
For many years, people have wondered, what's up with Ner'zhul? He eventually managed to merge with Arthas, proclaiming that they were one. Then, in the Arthas novel, there's this sort of dream sequence in which Arthas reflects on his road to damnation, ultimately stabbing his last remaining shred of good and Ner'zhul. No one tells me what to do. I've gotten everything that I need from you. Now the power is mine and mine alone. Now there is only I. I am the Lich King. And I am ready. The orc shuddered in his arms, stunned by the betrayal, and vanished. Did that really happen, or did that only play out in Arce's mind? Who knows? In-game, we saw that good side of him, we even quested with it, and then the Lich King still proclaimed that he used to be a shaman. And later on, during the Death Knight Legion artifact questline, we still saw Ner'zhul and an Arthas as some part of Frostmourne. Or maybe it was just an echo of the past. Safe to say, Ner'zhul's fate, it wasn't entirely clear, and what an opportunity there was to use the expansion Shadowlands to dive a bit more into his story. No longer is it just the Legion that created the Lich King, helped Ner'zhul along his path. Now there's also the Jailer added to this, responsible for the creation of Frostmourne and the Helm of Domination. The Jailer wanted Ner'zhul to be his herald, but apparently he failed, got taken over by Arthas, and this is what they've done with him.
Every moment.
Intended to herald the Jailer's reign on Azeroth, the first Lich King, Ner'zhul proved unworthy in his master's eyes. The last remnants of the fallen orc's twisted soul were encased in spiked shadow steel, condemned to everlasting torment for his failure. Poor Ner'zhul, man. The orc can't catch a break with all this torture that he has endured. All who cross his path, they will share in his suffering, quite literally, with orbs of torment that spawn across the field. There's also a nasty debuff that tries to knock us off the platform. Time to chip away at his armor and say goodbye to the Remnant of Ner'zhul.
Roh-Kalo, I come home.
Anyone that has done Torghast, you know the pain of its traps, and you might get some flashbacks as we move through the Black Bellows to the Screaming Anvil. We can thank Painsmith Raznal for our many deaths, as this is the sadistic mastermind who spent eons perfecting their traps.
Welcome, honored guests. I have gone to great lengths to construct an eternity of pain for you. I do hope you appreciate the effort. The Shadowlands will hear your screams.
He relishes the screams of his victims as a testament to his skill, listening with malignant delight as they echo through the tower's desolate halls. This is very much reflected in his fight, as the floor itself, it will rise up with spikes. Fire, it rains down, and massive balls with even more spikes roll down the battlefield. There's also massive chains with not a lot of spikes, but they still do a whole lot of damage and will knock back anybody around you. Aim in the game is to not kill each other while avoiding Raznal's traps, and I honestly can't wait to see this go down on Mythic. It's quite a dance to stay alive, but also a ton of fun.
What pain lies beyond?
Time to grab a gateway and teleport up to the crown of Gorgoa, where Kel'Thuzad is waiting to greet us.
How fitting that we should face one another here, upon the precipice of death's victory. For too long I've had to disguise my true motives, pretend to serve false masters. When all the while, it was I who helped architect Azeroth's end. The hour has come to make you pay for the indignities I suffered at Naxxramas. Now, at long last, you will kneel before Kel'Thuzad.
We'll face Kel'Thuzad in just a moment, but while we make our way to the next boss, did you know that when Kel'Thuzad signed up with the Lich King, he actually wanted out, but by then it was already far too late. He was guided further along his path of necromancy by the Whispers of Ner'zhul, by the Lich King, guiding him to Northrend, but when they gave him a tour of Naxxramas, Kel'Thuzad was like, you know, this is going a little bit far, even for me. He tried to turn back, he tried to escape, shown in that very old classic Naxxramas trailer. But when dealing with a being like the Lich King, not even death is a certainty. I truly wonder how many people know that little detail, as in-game we've only seen him as the ever-loyal servant. What an opportunity to dive into Kel'Thuzad's backstory. Perhaps even offer him a path away from the jailer, or towards finding his beloved Prince Arthas. That's not the path for him though. Instead, he was apparently always aware of the jailer. He was serving false masters. We'll confront him in just a moment. First up is the Guardian of the First Ones.
Destroy it all! Leave no evidence for these mortals to find!
Aberrations are attempting to acquire Sepulchre access ciphers. Guardian, you will eradicate them.
Again, this Sepulchre gets mentioned. The one thing that Zovaal the Jailer is not allowed to reach. But it seems like just getting there is not gonna be enough. They need to find a way in, which the Guardian is not giving them. Pulled by the Jailer's chains from a distant, unknown realm, this malfunctioning Guardian, it seeks to protect the inscrutable knowledge known as ciphers. It uses the last of its powers to obliterate any who would attempt to plunder the secrets of its enigmatic makers. It's those first ones again that are mentioned a lot, but they're still quite a mystery. Apparently, they're the progenitors who created the Shadowlands and other cosmic realms. Their relic responded to us for some reason, which gave us a chance to escape the maw while surprising Zovaal. And we know that the jailer is after some kind of forbidden knowledge. That is what landed him in the maw to begin with, trying to claim the sigils of his fellow Eternal Ones. But the chains they used, they've been turned into a weapon, and he's been hard at work at trying to get the mission done. That's why he is dragged in Corvia, another area connected to the first ones. It's where the Primus decided to hide his sigil away, and apparently more locations have been explored by the jailer, one in which he was able to find this guardian. It will do anything that it needs to do to defend the ciphers. Trying to convince it that we're not its enemy is completely pointless, so we'll have to take it out.
Boys, deeply turned.
I do wonder if there was supposed to be some dialogue after this fight. As Bolvar does show up, he walks over the body, but he doesn't really say anything. Perhaps if you do the achievement called Knowledge is Power, in which you need to drag Vezeran the Seeker into the fight, enlighten him with an energy core and then take him out. Perhaps that's going to drop some more lines, but I couldn't find anything on it. In the meantime, we've made our way to the Loom of Fates. We run into Fatescribe Roh-Kalo.
Rings within rings within rings. Hide. He tore it from my mind. Only shadows remain.
Poor Fatescribe Roh-Kalo. He knew that something was up in Corvia. Knew that the jailer was coming for them. He just didn't know how or when, so he decided to hide away. That is, until foolish adventurers like ourselves showed up. Caretaker Catan, they asked us to help them find their missing Fatescribe. And while we tracked him down, while we quested together, the caretaker is way too funny, way too interesting to just be a regular attendant of Corvia. With the mission done and the Fatescribe's location revealed, Catan removes the disguise and reveals that the Dreadlords are truly in league with the jailer. This was suggested and speculated about before, but now we know for certain. That's also the bridge for how Frostmourne, the Helm of Domination, and the creation of the Lich King, how that can all flow out of the designs of the jailer. The Fatescribe is then immediately taken away, while Azodius, they got the pleasure of trying to kill us. The plot of the Dreadlords will continue on in a future campaign quest. Right here, we find out what happened to poor Roh-Kalo. Once entrusted with Corvia's countless secrets, now he's bound to the jailer's will. With Torghast's power at his disposal, Roh-Kalo seeks to offer a new fate for the Shadowlands. The runes on the floor are kinda deadly, depicting our future and destiny. We can manipulate them, we can manipulate the threats of fate, and put poor Roh-Kalo out of his misery. I do really wonder why the jailer was so interested in him, and what secrets he might have revealed.
Silence. At last.
Moving on to the Throne of the Damned, the moment is finally upon us. Ladies and gentlemen, for the third and perhaps, but probably not last time, here we have Kel'Thuzad.
You've meddled with my affairs for the last time!
The nefarious Kel'Thuzad awaits at the apex of the Soul River, allowing the Lich to draw upon an unlimited well of power. All his countless schemes and machinations, they've led to this final confrontation, where he has plotted the mortal champion's ultimate demise in service of his true master. We exposed his plots and schemes in Maldraxxus, to which the jailer's forces, they showed up and they dragged him back to the Maw. It kinda looked like Kel'Thuzad wasn't too happy about having to go back, but now he seems perfectly fine. In the Maw, you might have even joined the effort of pushing back one of his tormented assaults. And here, he's been waiting for us. I bet those adventurers back in Classic that they had no idea what they were doing when, instead of following their better judgments, they decided to sell the phylactery to Father Montoy. That allowed Kel'Thuzad to return with Wrath the Lich King. And that time, he made sure to hide his phylactery properly. It's the thing that needs to be destroyed to truly get rid of a Lich. This time around, we actually enter his phylactery to destroy the remnant of Kel'Thuzad, his human form, as that is what he once was before hearing the whispers of the Lich King, diving deeper into his necromantic ways. From the plague that fell upon Lordaeron to guiding Arthas on his road to damnation. Kel'Thuzad, he's been a problem for the world for many years now. Let's make sure to finish it once and for all.
Wait! Stop! I can offer you unimaginable power! No! Impossible! Death answers to me!
With the lower levels cleared, Bolvar and her allies, they show up to craft a death gate to the pinnacle of domination, where Sylvanas Windrunner is the last thing standing between us and the jailer.
Azeroth's champions, you've arrived at last. Despite witnessing the broken cycle of life and death with your own eyes, still, you would stop us from remaking this flawed system. What a pity.
There are no more Valkyr to protect you, Sylvanas. You will die here for the last time.
The archer does not mourn the loss of their arrows, High Lord. A shame you won't survive to witness our victory. But if it's an ending you seek, then come and meet it.
With Oribos in peril, a desperate battle at the pinnacle of the Sanctum begins. With no mask left to wear, the Banshee Queen unleashes her full power to protect the Banished One, while his ultimate plan unfolds. Sending all those souls down into the maw, it has empowered the jailer greatly, and by extension Sylvanas herself. She's not able to hold her own against not just the heroes of Azeroth, but also the combined might of Bolvar, Jaina, and Thrall.
Your lives end here!
Your efforts are futile. Oribos is within my grasp.
No! We will stop you! Jaina, we need a portal. The jailer must not take the Eternal City!
Something is limiting my magic. Where are we?
Behind our quarry. Heroes with me!
Is the jailer trying to break out of the maw? Or something else?
Sylvanas does have quite the advantage here, being able to fly and all. We're not so lucky, as we cross the edge of the abyss with bridges made by Thrall and Jaina. Meanwhile, at spawning, Sylvanas bombards us from the edges and tries to cast Ruin. If she manages to get it off, you're simply going to die. So not only do we need to be careful not to fall off the chains, we also need to keep up with her, be quick enough to interrupt.
You will pay! All of you will pay!
You don't have to do this! Surrender!
For Sourfang!
Fall
For the
into
Horde!
oblivion!
Sylvanas! Give
Hear the
Anduin to
sound
me!
of suffering!
We're out of time! Oribos is being enveloped by the maw! Hold them back a little longer! The portal's nearly open! It's done! Hurry!
No! The jailer is going to destroy the Arbiter!
Quickly, champions! Stop Sylvanas!
Death bends to my will!
Kinda wonder what our forces that were supposed to protect the Arbiter, what they're doing right now, or where the other Eternal Ones might be. I guess that they're defending the lower levels or their own domains. Either way, it's do or die time. The jailer has finally managed to escape the maw and now assaults the Arbiter, his final key. While Anduin keeps her allies busy in the middle, we dance around with Sylvanas as we slowly lose the platforms that we have to fight. And despite giving it all that we got.
He's done it. Death awaits!
We already have what we need!
Too long I endured the Maker's flawed design. I will forge a new reality where all shall
I will never serve.
Still chained by mortality. You did help restore something stolen from me. Allow me to repay you in kind. I leave you to their mercy. Come, be the first to witness reality's end.
Cannot let him reach thee.
The jailer has obtained his final key. That's what was stolen from him. His heart is full, his armor gets quite the upgrade, and no longer does he have those chains of binding. With his goals achieved, he reveals that he has no intention of setting everyone free. Reality is going to be remade, but not into one that is just, but one in which we all serve the jailer. Sylvanas is not down with that, and she makes her stand. In return, the jailer is kind enough to fully restore her soul. Sylvanas has lost a part of herself the day that Arthas took her life, and the darkness within her has grown to fill the void. That's what he threw at her, and some have been wondering if that means that she's now alive again. I personally don't think so, but time is going to tell. It's also interesting to note that the gem used to represent or contain her soul is very similar to the gem that infused Anduin's weapon. We still haven't found Arthas anywhere. Last we saw of him was being dropped in the maw. And people are wondering if that is the soul that they used to craft Kingsmorn. Once again, it is still unknown. Sylvanas is left to our mercy and placed in custody. Bolvar prays that she possesses knowledge that could give us an edge to stop whatever the jailer is planning next. Just to add to this, a bit of dialogue has showed up. If you skip the end cutscene, you can see this play out, and they discuss this very thing. They thought that the jailer was coming to slay the Arbiter, but he absorbed her essence, as if her power and sigil were his all along. That's what Thrall says. While Jaina couldn't care less about the jailer. He's got Anduin. No matter where he's gone, we're going to find him. Sylvanas will be held captive in Oribos. When she awakens, they can begin the interrogation. There is a Datamined cutscene, a memory most likely, that should reveal a bit more from behind the scenes, a road that we can follow. That's also a big question that people have been asking, what's going to be next? And we're apparently going after Soval. A lot of what he really wants is still kept in the dark or only hinted at. There's something about an unjust system. There's something about the first ones, death washing over all of reality. This is all pretty much new lore that still needs to be explained further. But right now, the Primus, he will guide us in reforging our sigils, the sigils of the Covenants, in order for us to follow the jailer and potentially stop his ultimate goals. That could be a thing. And of course, there's still Anduin to consider. He drops his father's compass on the ground, and we do still have a chapter of the campaign that is called What Lies Ahead. It's not even been up on the PTR, so most likely we'll get some more details on what lies ahead. With a name like that, we can safely assume, yeah? For now though, you're up to speed on the story that goes down in the Sanctum of Domination. A big thank you to Atiro Dominatus. I really hope I pronounced that one right. From Silvermoon, their guild carried me through the raid, and they were so much fun while doing it. Say that you want more details on all the things that we talked about today, then check out the Relayed WoW article in the description down below. You could also subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time, see ya!